Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Today we will be reading the second chapter of They Don't Think Like Us, made by Thranaer. Thanks for the writer's permission. The link for the story is in the description, and I hope you'll enjoy. Let's begin. These humans were insane. This thought continued to run through the mind of the Galadonian soldier, and by way of their neural connections, he could tell his companions had come to the same conclusion. The Galadonians couldn't outright read each other's minds, but they could sense the thoughts and emotions of other Galadonians in close proximity to them. They had been dropped on this planet as the battle started. What did the humans call it? Ultane 4. They had expected this to go much like the rest of the war had, but their plans had quickly ground to a halt just a few hours later. Sweeping through the vast majority of the Yishin systems had not taken more than about 2 years, their bird-like frames and lack of military prowess making them no match for the Galadonians. Even with Thranaerian support, most battles had been quick and decisive. The Yishin planets, however, were not going to fully support the growing needs of the Empire. So, a decision had been made to also expand into human territory. This race was young and untested. They had stayed out of the fighting so far, leading the Galadonians to believe they also preferred to avoid conflict. After all, humans had no claws, no beaks, no natural armor. They had nothing. They also lived much shorter lifespans than most, and could not possibly have much battle experience. The other species would surrender when the odds began to turn drastically against them. Seeing their comrades fall struck fear in their hearts. Once terms were set forth, they were rarely ever rejected. The Galadonians had no respect for the traditions of weaker races, but they saw the benefit in them. The faster they could overwhelm a foe, and the more prisoners they could capture, the more workers they had to support their war. They had been quite eager to see what kind of workers humans were. But that chance had not come. These humans were different. Their morale never wavered. They never gave up. The Galadonians paid for every inch of gained ground in blood. Seeing their friends cut down only invigorated the humans, while other species felt the urge to live, to remember their lost friends and honor their sacrifice by living their own lives. The humans felt the opposite. It was their solemn duty to ensure that the sacrifices were not in vain. Every human who saw an ally fall was determined to pay the Galadonians back tenfold. It was terrifying. The initial push had gone well. The humans had a capital city on this planet and about a half-dozen smaller colonies circling it. The Galadonians landed and engaged the vanguard forces from the humans, but quickly overwhelmed them. Their plan had been simple: take out the smaller settlements and then encircle the capital. Their orbital ships would soften up the defense forces, then they would flood in at the first sign of weakness. They had taken 2 of the 6 smaller settlements when the news came. The fleet was gone. There would be no orbital support for the assault. They were on their own. A sense of fear and trepidation washed over the Galadonians. What they had on the ground should still be enough to conquer the planet, but how had the humans eliminated their ships? This newborn race, barely in galactic infancy, had beaten a Galadonian warfleet. What else were they capable of? The Galadonian soldier lay in the dirt, his own blood soaking into his uniform, and looked up at the humans on the hill. They were battered, bleeding themselves, but they weren't beaten. Anyone could see that they would eventually be overwhelmed. There were too many Galadonians coming at them, but not once did they falter or willingly give up ground. With their dead around them, they continued to fight. To continually raise the price the Galadonians paid for every kill. As the soldier breathed his final breaths, he realized this foe, these humans, they didn't think like us. That was the end of the story. Thank you so very much to Commodore Goat for supporting me on Patreon, and thank you all for listening. I'm glad to still have you here. If you haven't seen part 1, you can check it out in the description below. If you have stuck around, go and show your appreciation to the writer on HFY. I hope you're having a good day, and I'll see you in the next one.